What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another amazing Naruto story. What if Naruto's sister has crush on him? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description box to original creator of this beautiful creation. 5 years later, Naruto Uzumaki ran as fast as his short legs would carry him. He didn't care where he went as long as he was far away from the villagers. He hated them all with their cold and piercing glares. Ever since he could remember, that was the only look he knew. Or at least, when others looked at him. The worst thing was that he had no clue why they looked at him like that. But every year on October 10th, his birthday, those same looks intensified. He thought birthdays were supposed to be a happy day. Well, that was the general impression he got when he watched other kids on their birthdays. Naruto never felt that way on his birthday. Instead of praise and hugs, insults and punches were thrown his way. This year, a tomato hit his face and before anything else was flung at him, he ran off. He tripped over a tree limb and landed straight on his face, pain seared through his body. Naruto tried to get up, but because he ran for about an hour at full speed, non-stop, his elbows buckled and he fell on his face again. He laid there for a moment, crying into the dirt. "Hey, are you okay?" A gentle and warm voice called to Naruto. He looked up to face this stranger. Her chocolate brown hair fell to her shoulders in soft wavy layers. This helped frame her delicate features, subtle cheekbones and a small upturned nose. These very feminine looks were accentuated by full rosy pink lips that were, at the moment, turned down at the edges in a frown. But her tanned skin and jet green eyes shook Naruto to his very core. For, even though the tanned skin was smooth, it was also tight with worry and her eyes expressed an emotion he has never seen directed at him before. Concern. "Did you get a concussion?" She repeated again, more worry swam in her voice. This time the teenaged girl reached out to touch Naruto. But, out of instinct, he knocked her hand away, and scrambled to get away. He then turned and slammed right into the very same tree that tripped him. "Aren't you a glutton for punishment?" she said chuckling. Although, there wasn't anything mean in the way she said it and as much as Naruto wanted to run away, he couldn't. He felt drawn to the strange teenager in front of him. She continued to smile at Naruto, warmth and kindness exuded from her smile. "I guess you react badly to strangers," she said to him. "No duh," thought Naruto. "So, how about some introductions, nay? My name is Maiko Senju." She then held her hand up again to him. Palm open for a handshake. Naruto didn't know what to make of this teenage girl named Maiko. All he knew was that she was the first nice person he has ever met. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki," he said after a 10-second hesitation, in which he sized her up a couple of times. When he took her hand, she smiled one of the prettiest smiles he ever saw. She then proceeded to help him up. Maiko was wearing civilian clothes, a deep royal purple tank top and mid-thigh denim shorts. Her black thronged sandals made a soft clapping noise when she walked or stepped back. But what shocked Naruto was the Konoha ninja protector she wore as a headband once he finally noticed it. Why you're a ninja?" Naruto stuttered. This earned him another warm laugh. He was beginning to love Maiko's laugh. "Yes, I am a kunoichi. Even though today is my day off, I can't help but wear it. I feel naked without it," she said while lightly touching it. "Ninjas get days off?" "Yup, in between missions ninjas take those days to recharge as well as to practice and improve their skills," Maiko said, beaming at him, clearly enjoying his curiosity. "So what are you doing today? Don't you have a lot of questions?" "Well, I was going to my favorite ramen stand when I saw a little kid trip and fall right on his face." She grinned a mischievous grin and laughed. As much as Naruto loved her laugh, it was cut short. When he looked up and he saw a thought fill her expressive eyes. "How about you make it up to me by escorting me to Ichiraku Ramen?" she said while holding her elbow out to him. He smiled a big grin and took it. "I would love to, as long as you tell me what ramen is." "Nani? You've never had ramen before? This is a crime against humanity. Come quickly, so you can taste the best ramen this world has ever seen," Maiko said to the young boy, and off they went to Ichiraku. 1 week later. "Maiko, Maiko, Maiko," roared the interrogation specialist. "Gomen nasai ibiki-sensei. What were you saying to me again?" Maiko said, putting the stack of papers back on her desk. She turned and put the papers back on her desk. She turned to face the scarred and intimidating Junin in front of her. I was trying to say good work and I will see you tomorrow." He gruffly said and left, his boots echoing in the room and down the dank hallway. "You gotta tell me what you do to get Ibiki to compliment you so much." Maiko looked out of the corner of her eye and stared at one of her best friends, Anko. "Maybe you should pay more attention to mental interrogation and not just physical, if you know what I mean." She suppressed a giggle when Anko started to pout. Maiko met Anko 3 years ago when she first joined the Anbu interrogation unit. Ever since then they have been the best of friends. Maiko strode down the dark hallway barely illuminated by the chakra lamps spaced out every 3 meters on the walls. Even though she looked confident, on the inside she was terrified. Maiko started to second-guess her decision to join the interrogation unit, but she thought that it would be the best move to become a better kunoichi. At this thought she shook her head slightly. "You can't back down now," Maiko muttered to herself. Once she got to the end of the hall and saw the big steel door, she took a deep breath and opened it. The overhead casted a stark light over the classroom and its occupants, and as she stepped over the threshold, everybody's head turned to look at her. She felt sweat drop from her forehead. "Nice of you to join us, do you have your papers?" A gruff and impatient voice called to her. She turned and took in the battle-worn ninja in front of her. He wore a bandana over his head, covering the beginning of a scar that stretched over his cheek, missing his left eye, ending at his sturdy chin, and then came around to the other side of his face. His very broad shoulders and muscles were covered with his standard leather jacket that goes to his knees. Regular ninja black shirt and pants were underneath the jacket and his, also black, combat boots came halfway up his calves. Maiko nodded her head and strode quickly to the man in front of the class. She handed over the transfer papers, he took them and quickly read over them. "Well, Maiko Senju, you can sit in the 3rd row, 4th seat. Never switch your seat. Now go so we can start class." After he said this, Maiko made her way to her seat. She found that she was seated right in the middle. There are 5 rows and 8 seats to a row. She sat down and smiled to herself. The hard part of introductions were over and she can now learn what she wanted to know. "What are you smiling at?" The girl to Maiko's right said to her. "I'm smiling at knowing that we get to practice the techniques we learn on traders." Maiko said with her classic devilish grin. "Hell yeah, I can agree with that. I'm Anko Mitarashi, by the way." And with a firm handshake they became friends. "What are you smiling at?" Anko asked her distant friend. "Just recalling how we first met. We haven't changed much, have we?" Maiko replied. Even though they passed the class and were now apprentices to Ibiki, to Maiko it feels as if nothing really changed. "We have. Now that we are halfway through puberty, our look has changed. You raised the hemline of your shirt and I lost mine." As she said this, Maiko couldn't help but chuckle and nod her head. It was true. Once their chests grew out they went for a wire look. Seduction, as they learned, was a major tool for a kunoichi in the interrogation unit. Maiko switched from a billowy shirt dress to a shirt showing off her midriff, protected by chainmail of course. But to balance it out she wore baggy beige pants instead of her old black leggings. Whereas Anko decided to use her D-sized chest to its fullest potential by not wearing a shirt at all. She would wear a trench jacket that covered just enough. For safety she pinned the jacket to the chainmail shirt she, too, wore. To exude even more appeal, Anko also wore a miniskirt. She tried to convince Maiko to do the same, or something similar to it, but Maiko always claimed that she liked her traditional Chinese blouse. See, along with it being a midriff, its sleeves were also detachable at the shoulder, and she liked the look of an exposed shoulder but still wearing sleeves at the same time. Plus it was functional, she could take the sleeves off when it got too hot out and she could hide weapons underneath them. So Maiko was happy with her look. It was edgy but not too over the top like Anko's. "True, very true. Haha. Well, I have to go, see you tomorrow," Maiko said before waving goodbye. She dashed out of the interrogation basement. She couldn't wait to see Naruto. Even though she only knew the kid for about a week, she couldn't help but want to hang out with him. The memory of meeting Naruto and all of its little details were still fresh in her mind. His face was sticky red and brown from falling face first into the dirt. His short and spiky golden hair and cerulean blue eyes showed his agitation, like a cat's when it was spooked. Seeing this broke Maiko's heart. Yes, she knew the boy was the demon container, but to her all she could see was a frightened little boy. No child should be that afraid of human contact, no matter what their condition was. So after a little goading, Maiko got Naruto to trust her. But what was even more hilarious was his reaction to eating ramen for the first time. Maiko walked the busy venue streets with Naruto clinging to her elbow. With those looks I would do the same, she thought after dirty looks began to emerge from the crowd. Someone even hissed at them, nevertheless they pressed on. Whenever he gripped her tighter, she would pull him closer to her body until he felt safe again. Luckily the ramen stand wasn't that far from where they met. The two made their way through the crowd, and both were relieved to walk into the privacy of the warm ramen stand. "Hello Tucci-san, I brought a new customer with me," Maiko said cheerfully to the middle-aged man behind the wood counter as she dragged the nervous Naruto to a stool. Good, good, so your usual of ramen with extra everything?" Tucci-san said, beaming at the young lady sitting in front of him. "Hi, make it two for my friend here." After she said this, Maiko saw Naruto look at her in shock. "Nani? We are friends aren't we?" She cheekily shot at the young boy. "I've never had a friend before," the boy admitted sadly, looking down at the wood counter. That statement broke Maiko's heart. She remembered her childhood and how she spent all of her time with her friends. The fact that this boy didn't have the same carefree happiness upset her to no end. "Well now you do," she said smiling at the young boy. Without any hesitation, Naruto leapt out of his seat and into the lap of Maiko, hugging her with all of his might. She could tell by his shaking and the dampness growing on her shirt that he was crying. She just held him, stroking his hair until the ramen was ready. "Hey kiddo, our food is ready," Maiko gently told Naruto. He nodded his head and without getting out of her lap, turned to eat the steaming bowl in front of him. "Holy cow, this is delicious." He then continued to finish it in record time and asked for another bowl. Maiko just laughed and gave him her bowl. The boy ate another 2 bowls before he was full. Naruto was just a bundle full of surprises. He then looked up at the sky and a frown crept up on his adorable face. "I don't want to go home. Today was the best day I've ever had," he said aloud and proceeded to pout. His lips puckered, making his whisker marks lengthen. "Ha ha ha, then we will have to do this tomorrow. Same time and place?" Naruto nodded and hugged her again. He looked to the sky once more, said goodbye, and left. "He's a sweet kid," Tucci-san said to Maiko. She nodded and smiled. "Tell Ayame that I say hi." And with that she paid and left, too. Maiko smiled once more at the memory. She quickly wound her way through the basement and then the streets. She bumped into others here and there. Hell, she even bumped into a kid around the same age as Naruto. She said her sorries and gomen nasais, but Maiko was just not in the right mindset. She just wanted to see that cute smile on his face. She felt like his smile just brightened up her boring existence, something she hadn't felt since that night 5 years ago. The great tree came into her view and she saw a blonde spike of hair poking out from the side of the trunk. So, she poked her head around the tree and said, "Hiya kiddo." But when she saw what shape Naruto was in, she thought, oh my god. His nose was bent awkwardly to the left, dried blood was caked underneath the broken nose. A bruise was beginning to darken on his right eye. He was leaning against the tree holding his right side. Maiko could tell by the pain in his eyes that he was trying not to cry. "Who did this to you?" were the only words that came out of Maiko. "Who did this to you?" Naruto could tell by her voice and green eyes that Maiko was holding back her anger. "My handler," he blurted out and would have continued talking if it didn't hurt so much. Even breathing was painful, and looking at a furious Maiko wasn't good either. She was pacing back and forth, like a tiger caught in a cage. She then stopped and took a scroll out of its holder on her belt. While she opened it, Naruto attempted to read the strange signs on it. She then picked him up as gently as she could. "I'm sorry, but I am going to make this as painless as possible. Don't move please." She said this as she put him in the middle of the scroll. He could only nod in response. He totally trusted her with what she was doing with him. He then saw her make a few hand signs, and all went black. When he opened his eyes he was in the Hokage's office. The old man looked grim and tired. His age and his lifestyle were seen on his face. You could tell that he has made some huge decisions in his life, both great and terrible. His eyebrows furrowed looking at Naruto, but like Maiko, it was out of concern and not of hate. Naruto shifted uncomfortably at the scrutiny of the stare he was getting from the Hokage. It was as if the Sandaime was taking note of every injury Naruto had. After a few more minutes Maiko broke the silence. As you can see Sandaime-sama, his handler, has beaten him, she fiercely stated. She stared down the Hokage, daring him to argue with her. Oh hell, he muttered and then yelled, send me a medic nin and Toya Hikaru. As soon as he said it, a medic nin dressed in all white ran in. Once he spotted Naruto, he quickly went to work on healing the young boy. The medic nin didn't know what to make of the kid. He was startled at how fast Naruto healed. All he had to do was reset the nose and help the healing process of the couple of broken ribs he received. Afterwards he cleaned the boy up and ran out as fast as he could. Naruto saw these emotions play on the medic nin's face, and much to his displeasure he was reminded again of how people treated him. But Naruto would rather have the medic nin stay than his handler, who walked in through the door immediately after the medic nin left. Toya Hikaru was a retired ninja 40 years of age. He always wore a traditional kimono, Naruto believed, even in battle, because he has never seen him in anything else. Even for his age, Hikaru remained physically fit and would practice his skills on Naruto on a weekly basis. His stone-cold brown eyes and peppered gray hair haunted Naruto's nightmares. Hikaru was the longest handler Naruto has ever had, 2 years. And during those years he reinforced the idea that the boy was trash and a monster. You sent for me, Hokage-sama? Toya Hikaru said with his always calm and cold voice. Just hearing it made Naruto squirm and hide behind Maiko, trying to get as far away from him as possible. Yes, I have. It has come to my attention that you might be beating your charge, Naruto Uzumaki. What do you have to say to this? The Hokage calmly stated, watching Hikaru closely. I say that it is an absurd accusation coming from a lying little boy. From what I can see he is in perfect health. Hikaru replied. This was accompanied by a menacing look from Hikaru to Naruto. Maiko snorted, and put her arm protectively around the frightened boy with a menacing glare to Hikaru, although Naruto didn't see it. Well yes, but that is because my medic nin fixed him up shortly before you walked in. When he came into my office he had a badly broken nose, a black eye, and a few broken ribs. The Hokage pressed. Sandaime-sama, this boy probably got hurt falling from a tree and not wanting to admit it to this girl. He lied and said I beat him. What Hikaru said angered Naruto. First calling him a liar and then speaking in that tone about Maiko drove him over the edge. He let go of Maiko and tried to lunge at the evil man. This surprised all 3 ninjas in the room. But Maiko with her quick reflexes grabbed him midair and held him tight to her. She stroked and massaged his head, calming him down immensely. Once he was calm and was of no threat, she spoke while maintaining her hold on Naruto. On the contrary, as one of the chosen few who are Ibiki-sensei's apprentices, I have come to learn when a person is lying. Naruto did not lie to me about how he got his injuries. And no offense, but he is no evil mastermind who can fake all the signs of telling the truth. Maiko replied with each word expressing her anger and disdain at his handler. Hikaru was too stunned at how the boy tried to attack him and how the girl was able to calm the boy down to respond. Then on top of that, to learn that she was a student of the famed interrogation specialist, Ibiki Morino, was another shock to Hikaru. This was not lost on the Hokage either. So when the Hokage looked at Hikaru, Naruto knew that he was in for it if Hikaru didn't give another good excuse. I have nothing else to say, Hokage-sama, was all he could say, still trying to regain control over his composure. Very well then, Hikaru, I cannot allow you to be a handler for anyone, especially for a child. So you are fired, you will be getting a new assignment tomorrow. You are dismissed, the Sandaime said to Hikaru. All he could do was nod, dumbfounded, and left. Naruto smiled knowing he would never have to deal with him again. Now I need to find another handler, so if you will excuse me. The third said to dismiss them as well. They didn't move. Well, Naruto did at first until he realized Maiko didn't. Hokage-sama, I will take care of Naruto, Maiko said. Naruto stood there in shock. He then recovered quickly and stared pleadingly at the third. He wouldn't want to live with anyone else but Maiko. She was his savior, his guardian. She was the one who protected him. Alright, he is your charge now. I will inform Ibiki so you can adjust your schedule, he said, smiling for the first time since they entered the room. Yahoo! Naruto jumped into the air, excited to live with Maiko. She laughed, smiled her warm smile, and ruffled his already messy hair. "Can we celebrate with Ichiraku ramen Maiko ne-chan?" Naruto blurted out. He quickly looked down in an embarrassment. After a few moments he looked up to the shocked Maiko. "Sure thing, Oto." She smiled, hugged him, and off they went hand in hand to have their first dinner together as a family. "Are you sure about this?" "Hi, seriously, Naruto?" Maiko asked in a stern and, a little, anxious voice. "Yes, Ne-chan, I am completely serious about becoming a ninja," Naruto replied, exasperated. He started fidgeting under her stare. Ever since Naruto told her he wanted to become a shinobi, Maiko has desperately tried to change his mind. She knew, only too well, how hard a ninja's life can be. And she didn't want her little Oto to go through it. But no matter what she said, he never budged. He caught on pretty quickly, when he first moved in, that she was really stubborn. A trait he is starting to inherit, she thought ruefully. Today she finally started to consider his wish. "Why do you want to become a shinobi?" she asked him, sipping her tea after cleaning up breakfast. Naruto was stunned. She could tell how shocked he was. "I want to be as strong as you, Ne-chan. Ever since you took me in, the villagers have threatened you, and yet you shrug it off. Your strength was demonstrated even more that night." Although she didn't show it, Maiko inwardly shuddered. She knew what night he was referring to. They had just come back from their weekly Ichiraku dinner that night. The house she adopted from her parents was quiet, too quiet for Maiko's liking. She silently surveyed the living room and kitchen. There was nothing special about the layout or any of the standard furnishings it had, but to Maiko it brought back memories. She remembered walking right into the living room and plopping down on the couch and relaxing, waiting for her parents to walk through the door from their missions. Her dad would sneak up on her and scare her so bad that she would fall off the plushy couch. Her mom would laugh and go straight to the adjacent kitchen, preparing dinner for her family. Maiko would get so upset she would chase her father out the patio door and into the yard. "Ah, delicious as usual. I'm going to get ready for bed, Oni-chan," Naruto proclaimed, bringing her back to the present. She watched him turn right and head down the hallway to where they slept. The house had 3 bedrooms. She occupied her parents' old bedroom, and Naruto had her old bedroom she grew up in. It was right next to where she slept. The room across the hall was the guest bedroom, storage. Since she couldn't see anyone, Maiko thrusted her chakra out from her feet and into the ground to sense her surroundings. "Kuso," she cursed inwardly as she sensed 4 high-level chunins hidden in her home. 2 were hidden in her bedroom closet, the others were in Naruto's. She made a shadow clone of herself. Lucky for her, she did this in such speed that only a ninja with a Sharingan could tell that she performed the jutsu and that the clone was already hiding underneath Naruto's bed thanks to chakra-enhanced speed. Afterwards she went through the usual motions like locking up the house, trying not to alert the intruders. All the while she did this her heart was beating so hard, she was afraid it would jump right out of her chest. Protect Naruto. Her thoughts screamed in her head. Maiko tried to calm herself down by breathing slowly and counting to 10. One of the many tips she picked up from Ayame-sensei. At that thought she smiled a ghost of a smile. She felt tears well up in her eyes, and shook her head, mentally telling herself not to cry. This is not the time to weep, she thought solemnly. She silently and slowly walked to her room when she gathered herself. As she opened the door to her bedroom, 2 men jumped out of her closet. Both threw their kunai at her, hoping for an edge with their surprise attack. But she was ready for them and deflected their pathetic attack. She soon quickly engaged them in hand-to-hand combat. The 2 chunin were displeased with how gracefully and easily she dodged their advances and all the while landing blows on them. Soon, they were at a standoff. Maiko stared them down, trying to recognize them. She couldn't because they looked exactly like everyone else who threatened her and Naruto. All she could tell was that one had black hair, the other had brown hair. Both had traditional looks, sharp cheekbones, and a pointy chin. Both even had coal-black eyes. The 2 men, still unnamed, were wearing identical chunin vests and a ninja black uniform. But to further distinguish her 2 attackers she noticed that Blackie had his protector on his belt while Brownie had his on his right thigh. Maiko knew they were trying to find a weakness. "Keep trying, fools, I'm not even tired," she thought, smiling at them. By the way they frowned she knew they could tell what she thought moments ago. But the confident smile vanished when her clone's last memories flitted into her mind. "Sorry, but I have to ask for a rain check." After this was said, she dashed out of the room and straight next door. Bursting into the bright orange room, she quickly threw the kunai in her hand to deflect the shuriken headed towards her adorable little brother. The kunai hit the shuriken dead center and embedded it against the adjacent wall. She then took in the other two attackers. They were more recognizable than their comrades. One had blonde hair and blue eyes. The second had fiery red hair and amber eyes. She then looked over to Naruto to see how he was. His eyes were wide with shock and fear, which in turn made Maiko even more mad. She, in the blink of an eye, created 4 more shadow clones. Followed by 3 of her clones, she charged the intruders. The 4th was meant to be back up, just in case, as well as there to make sure Naruto was okay. As soon as the attack began, it quickly ended. The entire fight scene from the fight in the other room to now is about 10 minutes. She killed Blackie, Brownie, and Blondie, leaving only Reddy alive. Maiko tied him up, even though she knew he had no more chakra left to fight or flee. She made sure the others were truly dead before she dispatched all but 1 clone. "Why did you protect that monster, and how are you so strong?" Reddy screamed at Maiko. "I am a Junin, you dumb ass, and this monster is my little brother. I won't let anyone harm him, especially as a defenseless child," she coldly said to him. She nodded to her 1 clone, which understood the plan. "Take Reddy to the Hokage and tell him what happened." Once the clone disappeared with the hostage in hand, Maiko turned around and checked on Naruto. He was huddled in the corner clutching his furry fox stuffed animal, Kitsune, which he always slept with every night. Blood was sprayed across his face and dark orange footsie pajamas. His eyes were in the same state of fear and surprise. She then noticed he was shaking and tears were running down his cheeks. She sighed a deep and exhausted sigh. "Come here, Naruto, let's get you cleaned up. You can sleep with me tonight," she gently told him. He tried to stand but his knees buckled. Maiko caught him before he fell, and took him straight to the bathroom across from her room. Still holding him, she turned on the faucet to the bathtub. She waited until it was nice and hot before she put him down and turned to leave. "Please don't leave me alone," he pleaded to her, holding onto her arm with all his might. Maiko knew how scared he was, especially since this was the first time he witnessed death. She could remember how horrible it was for her first time, so she smiled her consent and faced the opposite wall so he could have some privacy. While doing this, she created another shadow clone to go and get him a clean set of pajamas. Even though this happened 6 months ago, it was all still fresh in her mind. Maiko was just glad that she wasn't arrested, even though the entire village screamed for her blood and her head on a stick. It sickened her how they were the ones who were attacked, not the other way around. But having the Hokage's word and a confession extracted by Ibiki-sensei, the villagers were forced to quiet down. She inwardly smiled at the thought of what Ibiki-sensei and Enko-chan did to the intruder, especially after what he did to Naruto. Later that night, as well as months afterwards, Naruto would wake up screaming from nightmares. His dreams were haunted with their dead faces. It was so bad that he had to move into the guest bedroom because he could still see the blood on his walls and relive the moment. Naruto was so scared for his and Maiko's well-being he even asked her if it was safe to live here anymore. That night should be the perfect example of why you shouldn't want to be a ninja. "Do you want to make enemies who wish to kill you?" she asked in a surprisingly cool and emotionless voice that would make Itachi Uchiha proud. "Well, it's a little too late since the entire village wants to kill me. Becoming a ninja will help me be able to kill them before they kill me," he screamed at her, jumping out of his seat. Showing his anxiety, he started to pace in front of the knocked-over chair. She looked at him disappointedly. "Killing people is not what it means to be a shinobi," she stated. He stopped dead in his tracks and stared at her. "Then what does it mean to be a shinobi?" Naruto asked impatiently. He saw wisdom and truth in her eyes. She never lied to him, not even when he asked what she did as a ninja. Anbu interrogation. He knew that whatever she told him is the right thing and that he should never doubt her knowledge. "Hop on," Maiko said, getting up from her seat and motioning to her back. Naruto walked up to her and hesitantly jumped on her back. She then ran right through the window, jumped onto the rooftop and started running once more. After what felt like 5 minutes, she stopped. They were on the highest rooftop in the hidden village, an apartment complex. Maiko then dropped him, and from practice, he landed on his feet. She then plopped right down where she stopped so suddenly before. She patted a spot to the right of her, and so not knowing what was going on, he followed her lead. Naruto then realized they were facing the Hokage mountain. Let me tell you a little history before I tell you the meaning of being a shinobi. He groaned. Naruto hated history. Who cares what happened in the past, he thought. If you want to be a ninja you better pay attention. She sternly told him. Another reason why Naruto liked his Nei-chan so much, she never really raised her voice to him. Hi, Gomen Neisai, he said, giving her his full attention. Thank you. The first head you see to your left is the Shodai, or first, Hokage, my great-grandfather. Naruto was shocked to learn this about his sister since she never really talked about her family. He was the one who founded Konoha and set the precedent of all ninja villages. Sadly, he died shortly afterwards. Leaving all of this, waving her hand to the village below them, to his brother the Naidame, or second, Hokage. He created the academy, Anbu, and even the police brigade that is run by the Uchiha clan. Basically the politics and laws we still use today. He too died in battle like his brother, leaving Konoha to his student. You know him as the Sandame, or third, Hokage. Maiko said, smiling to him. But then who is that man after the third? Naruto asked, actually interested in history for the first time. He couldn't help but feel curiosity at the mysterious face in front of him. He felt something akin to familiarity to this unknown man on the mountain. Him? He is the Yondaime, or fourth, Hokage. He succeeded the third but died 6 years ago protecting this village. And since he died without an heir to being Hokage, the Sandame stepped out of retirement. Maiko said, staring strangely at him. He shifted uncomfortably, again, and thus she continued. You see, Naruto, these men are the strongest shinobi this village, possibly the world, has ever seen. And they are this strong because they loved this village and all of its inhabitants so much. They wanted to protect them and its future generations. And that is what it means to be a shinobi, to protect. Whether it is protecting a person to important documents, a ninja protects. And you have to be strong to protect those things that are important. She said, ending her speech. She then looked at Naruto, wondering if he understood what she just told him. But Naruto didn't pay attention to the look she was giving him, he was thoughtful. A shinobi is protection? Like a shield? So to be truly strong I have to learn how to protect. This really stumped him. So what about killing? He unconsciously asked aloud. Oh, Naruto. Maiko said, exasperated. Yes, killing is a part of a shinobi's job, sometimes, but that is not what it means to be a shinobi. Were you not listening to me? These men are honored, respected, appreciated, and known for their strength and love for this village. Not for how many people they have killed. She impatiently told the young boy. This struck Naruto. He wanted to be recognized as more than mere trash to the villagers, and he also wanted to be strong to protect Nei-chan, like she does for him. Maiko, Nei-chan, I understand. I want to become more than a ninja. I want to become Hokage so I can protect you and show the villagers how wrong they are about me. I will protect them no matter what, he said to her. He saw that tears were welling up in her eyes and she smiled at him. Alright Otuoto, you can become a ninja. I will fill out and turn in the paperwork tonight, Maiko said to him proudly. He returned the radiant smile and thus the dream is born. Happy birthday Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki is practically skipping to class this morning. This is because this year Naruto will have his very first birthday party. His Nei-chan finally said yes and he had friends to invite. This year is going to be the best. He thought eagerly to himself. He heard Maiko chuckling behind him as she walked him to the academy like usual. For some reason she adamantly did this, as much as he protested it. Naruto knew she did this to protect him and at first he didn't mind, he felt safe with her. But soon the other kids made fun of him for it. So he persistently tried to convince her to stop. But like usual she would say, I don't care what others think, and neither should you. He would then proceed to stick his tongue out at her and try to walk farther ahead. She didn't stop him as long as he was in sight. He didn't know how effective her Anbu mask was at striking fear in the villagers until the very first day of academy. As soon as Naruto saw the school building, he began to run. He didn't care what people thought of his behavior, he is one step closer to becoming Hokage. So when he barreled through the group of kids, he didn't mind their protests. But tackling a fellow classmate was another matter. Bam! Naruto and the blue-haired girl fell on top of each other. He was quite disoriented for a few moments, so he didn't make a move to get off the shy girl, nor did he hear her squeaks. The only reason he was thrown off of her was because a man with matching lilac eyes and midnight blue hair threw him off her. He would have crashed into a tree if Maiko didn't appear out of nowhere and catch him. "Teach that man," the man began to say before he realized who he was talking to. "Gomen Nasai. I did not see Tigress-sama." This confused Naruto greatly, until he remembered the tiger mask she wore. All his Oni-chan did was nod her head at him and said, "Naruto, say your apologies to the Hyuga heir." He was shocked at how cold her voice was. He never knew she could produce such a tone and was again disgruntled until nudged by Maiko. He then got a good look at the girl he knocked over. She had short midnight blue hair and pale lavender eyes, the same background color as Nei-chan's mask. Her pale skin was as white as milk. She wore a baggy beige jacket and ninja sandals almost as blue as her hair. "She's cute," Naruto thought. But he knew that was not needed to be said. "Sorry, I was just so excited to get to class and begin. I should work on noticing my surroundings more. By the way, I'm Naruto Uzumaki. What's your name?" he asked with his usual big grin. This surprised the man who looked like her relative. I'm Hinata Hyuga. She stuttered, blushing a violent red. "Well, nice to meet you, Hinata. Again, I am sorry for bumping into you. Hey, you want to sit next to me in class?" he asked eagerly. Hinata just nodded in surprise. Before she could object, Naruto grabbed her hand and ran off with her in tow. Maiko just laughed at their antics. This reminded Naruto that she was still there. So he ran back and hugged her, mumbling his thank you and goodbye, and ran right back to Hinata. They entered the school building and quickly tried to find some seats. Everyone was chatting excitedly. Naruto looked everywhere, trying to soak in everything around him. He saw a pack of girls all huddled together, most likely gossiping. Most of the boys were doing the same in their own circles. Off in the back he saw 4 boys sitting all by themselves, none of them talking to the other. One had spiky hair and sleeping. To his right a chubby kid was happily munching away, and to the right of the chubby kid was a mysterious boy with shades. But what got Naruto's attention was the boy with the white puppy on his head. So dragging the ever-blushing Hinata with him, he went right up to the boys. "Hi, I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and this is Hinata Hyuga." This was said with his trademark grin. "Shikamaru Nara, I can tell you're going to be troublesome. Choji, munch munch. Akamichi, munch munch munch. Shino Aburame, Kiba Inuzuka, and this is Akamaru. Rough, nice to meet y'all. Can we sit with you?" Naruto asked. He was already warming up to them. Then he heard the gang of girls shrilly yell, "Sasuke-kun," and thus proceeded to fight over who will sit next to him. This put Naruto off. Why is he so special? He thought to himself. "Oh, Sasuke-kun." He loudly mimicked the girls, causing the guys around him to snicker. He got death glares from all the girls, including Sasuke. "Do not make fun of Sasuke-kun." A pink-haired and blonde-haired girl yelled at him at the same time. "I just don't see what's so special about him is all," Naruto replied, in which the group of girls started screaming at him saying how sensitive he is. But Naruto didn't see it. "At least I don't need someone to fight my battles for me." Sasuke coldly gloated. Naruto was beginning to dislike him more and more. "Leave my Nei-chan out of this," he growled. Everyone was shocked that his sister was a part of Anbu Black Ops. Some were even impressed. Although Sasuke didn't admit, he too was slightly impressed. "Wow, so does that mean your sister is the Blood Tigress?" Kiba shouted amazed. "Blood Tigress?" Naruto grinned from ear to ear, glad to hear that his sister was getting some proper respect. Although he wasn't so sure why she was called that, he assumed it was because of the crimson-red stripes on her subtle purple mask. He thought it was cool she had her own deadly nickname and went with the flow. "Yup, that's my Oni-chan." With this he was bombarded with questions. "Is it true if you say her name 3 times out loud should kill you that second?" "No, that's somebody else." "Is she venomous? Does she have blood-red eyes?" This would have continued if their sensei, a young man with a scar over his nose, told them to take their seats. "Ohio, I'm Iruka. I will teach you what it takes to become a ninja, so settle down and let's begin." Every day since then the kids at the academy continually asked Naruto for a description of his sister. Even the lazy Shikamaru was curious. But to no avail did Naruto give out any details. This caused a lot of the kids to stop bothering him and moved on to their own trivial affairs. He was okay with this since he had his own group of friends: Hinata, Kiba and Akamaru, Shikamaru, Choji, even Shino. They were all outcasts in their own rights, and thus they banded together. His number one rival is Sasuke Uchiha. They are tied fighting-wise thanks to his sparring lessons with Maiko, but in everything else Sasuke excelled in. Naruto hates tests and sucks at chakra control. He even had to ask his sister for help with the simple jutsus they were learning. Maiko helped him with his transformation jutsu by telling him to go to the bathhouses and study some of the men there. Taken every detail, she told him, and he did just that. Except he wasn't looking at the men, he looked at the ladies, and thus the Why no Jutsu was born. When Naruto first showed her the jutsu, she was startled. Probably because when he transformed into his girl self, he couldn't help but notice how much he looked like her sensei. Maiko keeps the picture of herself as a genin and her team throughout the house, amongst others of her at a younger age, as well with some of him. After the initial shock, she started laughing and warned him to only use this jutsu if he absolutely needed to. Which happened quite often to her disappointment. But no matter how much they trained, Naruto could not make a clone. It always came out sickly and unusable. Maiko told him he was either using too much or too little chakra. No matter how much he tried, he never was able to make a clone. This would be his biggest challenge and biggest embarrassment at the academy. To offset this, he would pull pranks and perform the Why no Jutsu on poor Iruka-sensei. Good morning Naruto-kun. This snapped Naruto back into the present. He ran up to Hinata-chan and gave her the usual hug and grin. Morning Hinata-chan. And like usual, when he looked at her, she would blush deeply. He never understood this and thought it was quite normal. Hello Maiko-chan. Hinata's escort, a chunin named Kurenai, said. Good morning. Shall we continue on? Maiko-ne-chan said, ending this morning's pleasantries. It seemed like ever since that fateful morning they met, Hinata was escorted by the dark-haired beauty. Not that he complained, especially after hearing that she is one of Ne-chan's friends from her own academy days. Like every morning, Naruto and Hinata walked ahead of the two kunoichis, but not too far away. Hey Hinata-chan, this year I am throwing a birthday party on the 11th. Would you like to come? He asked eagerly, hoping one of his best friends came. Sure Naruto-kun. IIW will ask my FFF father. She stuttered. Yay. He cheered, earning a laugh from the adults behind them. He couldn't get to the academy fast enough. Come on Ne-chan, you're slowly us down. And with that he ran straight to the academy. 2 weeks later, Maiko started to laugh when she saw the upside-down Naruto stare intently at the front door, willing the time for his friends to come over to go faster. She then continued to decorate the house with streamers the color of burnt orange swooping down from the ceilings she was standing on. The smell of cake and cookies she baked hours ago still hung in the air. This brought back memories of birthday pasts, happier days in her opinion. She was glad that Naruto could have the same. Naruto staring at the door won't make your friends come any sooner. The best way to kill time is to do something else, she said to the unusually quiet boy. For a few moments, she didn't hear anything, so she turned around to face Naruto. She burst into laughter because the boy was bobbing up and down in his seat. What are you doing? Maiko said in between laughs, especially when he looked up and began to pout. I'm doing what you said. I am trying to distract myself. This made her double over. She could feel the stinging sensation of tears come to her eyes. Then the appointed doorbell rang through the living room and Naruto raced to the door. She released the chakra in her feet and flipped to land on her feet. She caught up to Naruto when he opened the door to see Hinata and Kurenai standing there with presents in each of their hands. Hinata-chan, you are the first one here. Come on in. Hey Ne-chan, can you call Tora and Byako to see if we can play with them until the others arrive? He asked in just one breath. She nodded and used the summons jutsu to call Tora and Byako. They are her partners in battle and they are tigers. In a puff of smoke, 2 tigers appeared before the shinobi. One was a Bengal tiger, his coat is a fiery orange that glistened in the sunlight. This matched his personality and chakra element, fire. The other is pure white and when its fur hits the light blue shines through with the black stripes. Like the previous tiger, the fur and markings signifies the personality and chakra of the said tiger, wind, air. You called Maiko-chan, the Siberian said. Naruto wants to play with you too. Maiko replied, finally getting a hold of herself. But her face is still flushed. Ah, come on Maiko. All you call us for is to babysit the kid. The Bengal complained. Tora, don't be like that. It's his birthday. She pleaded. Fine. Byako, you in? Tora asked his brother. Byako just nodded and followed the other tiger and kids out into the backyard. From where Maiko and Kurenai were standing, it seemed the game of choice was tag. Both of them chuckled at how Hinata blushed every time Naruto smiled at her. To the kunoichi, it was blatantly obvious how the girl felt about the boy. But only Maiko could see how much Naruto cared about the timid girl in return. Ever since the two kids met each other, she has been watching them closely. She could see how tenderly Naruto acts around Hinata, although he doesn't notice that he does this. She knew it is nowhere near love, but if they continue on like they are, then it will definitely blossom into it. Maiko wondered how Hiyashi would react. Imagining his face made her laugh even more. But for now, she was content on just watching the two kids, well, be kids. Shortly after she thought this, the doorbell rang once more, grabbing Naruto's attention away from the game at hand. Gotcha. Tora purred, but Naruto didn't feel the nudge and raced to the door. He dashed through the sliding door, into the house, and opened the front door, revealing quite the amount of kids who looked very much like their parents. Nei-chan, this is Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akamichi, Shino Aburame, Kiba and Akamaru Inuzuka, Sakura Haruno, and Ino Yamanaka. He told her, pointing to each one as he said their names. Hi, Maiko Senju. She smiled and waved to them. All of them except Shino expressed their shock at finally seeing her face for the first time. She laughed because Kiba, Shoji, Sakura, and Ino were catching all sorts of bugs with how far their jaws dropped. Shikamaru's eyebrows were raised, his feelings expressed through his eyes. She knew this was equal to the other four's reactions if he is anything like his father. So, you guys coming in or what? Naruto asked, but she could tell how smug he is. Slowly but surely they filed in and were even more startled by Tora and Byako cuddling with Hinata in the backyard. Okay kiddies, all the food and drinks are in the back. Naruto will be opening presents and eating cake around 6. So no touching the cake or else I will know, and you don't want to see what happens to you if you do. She said the last part in a deadpan tone to frighten the kids into submission, exercising her well-publicized nickname, Blood Tigress. They all nodded gravely, taking her very seriously. Well, except Naruto, Hinata, and Kurenai, who just smiled knowing full well what she was doing. Eventually they got used to it all and everyone fell into place. All the boys, even Shikamaru, Shino, and Hinata, were chasing the tigers. Sakura and Ino stood back, grilling Maiko for info about Naruto. Girls, why do you want to know so much about Naruto? She asked after 30 minutes of them non-stop talking. They were quite taken aback by how brazen she sounded. Well, Naruto. They couldn't form a sentence. It seemed they didn't know also. But Maiko nevertheless waited until they got their act together. Naruto is a lot like Sasuke-kun, just not as cute or cool. Ino said first, obviously the more confident one out of the two. Sasuke Uchiha? She asked. She heard about what happened to the Uchiha clan and it broke her heart, in more ways than one. Itachi-kun, she thought solemnly to herself. Maiko knew by the way Kurenai shifted closer that she was thinking along the same line. Yes, him. Naruto and Sasuke-kun are both mysterious. None of us really know anything about them. The only thing we know about Naruto is you, so we are curious. Sakura quietly said. This shocked Maiko at how attentive Sakura is. Why don't you ask him? She kindly suggested to the two girls. But they just quickly shook their heads. Well, then I guess you are out of luck because that information can only be said by Naruto himself. She gently told the girls and wouldn't budge on the topic anymore. Thankfully the girls figured out that, so they sauntered off to enjoy the rest of the party. Mai-chan, Kurenai began. I still don't wish to talk about that night, Kur-chan. Maiko sighed. Very well, but you do need to talk to someone about that night. Whether it's me or Anko-chan, she said, putting her hand on Maiko's shoulder. Maiko slightly leaned into it, recognizing that she understood and was grateful. But their moment was cut short by the ringing of the doorbell. She knew no one else was supposed to come, so she was curious to see who stopped by. Naruto beat her to the door, yet again. "Yay, you came, Iruka-sensei," Naruto gleefully screamed while Maiko's blood turned to ice and then began to simmer. "Yay, you came, Iruka-sensei," Naruto gleefully screamed while Maiko's blood turned to ice and then began to simmer. All the kids were happy that their favorite teacher came. Both Kurenai and Maiko were shocked. But not wanting to cause unnecessary attention between the animosity of Iruka and Maiko, the two women invited him in with small hesitation. Thankfully for Maiko, Naruto decided to give the man a tour. He did so for everyone, including Hinata, who already has been over once before. She slightly laughed when the little tyke unconsciously grabbed the hand of the ever-blushing girl. Maiko knew by the urgent stare that Kurenai was giving her that she too was thinking along the same lines as Maiko. What in the world convinced Iruka to come? She thought quietly to herself while picking up the dirty dishes and paper strewn across the living room and backyard with the help of Kurenai. He of all people she least expected of coming to Naruto's birthday party. Even though he never openly tried to attack or threaten Naruto, Maiko knew how he truly felt about Naruto. This drove a wedge in their friendship and brought about a confrontation neither would likely forget. "Well, look at who it is? The demon whore," a very drunk ninja said as soon as she walked into the bar. It has only been a couple of months before everyone knew she was Naruto's new guardian, and with that information a new nickname was given to her, Demon Whore. It angered her how everyone's image of her changed so quickly because she took in an orphaned boy. But she was careful not to show any reaction, not wanting the bastards to get the feeling of satisfaction of her being annoyed. "Liquor, it seems, has given you much courage," Itachi coldly stated, apparating seamlessly out of the shadows. The man, noticing Itachi, shook with fear and mumbled his insincere apologies. "Arigato, but you didn't need to do that." Maiko sighed, but her appreciation was still there for Itachi. "It gives him no right to call you such things because you were kind enough to adopt an unwanted boy," he simply stated. He had no clue that Naruto was the demon container, the Kyuubi's jailer. But he is no fool. He knew there was a reason that everyone hated the kid. There have been many times he tried to weasel the truth out of her, and every time she simply told him, "When the time is right, I will tell you." He, thankfully, agreed and left it at that. "Either way, thank you," she said, not in the mood to banter over the subject. He nodded and withdrew back into the shadows. Maiko took in a deep breath and waited for Iruka to come. She called him and told him they needed to talk. She could tell that their friendship was deteriorating ever since she took in Naruto. Iruka is one of the few in their generation who knew about Naruto. She understood why he disliked the Kyuubi, but she hoped he could look past that and see the kid for who he is. But every time she mentioned the possibility of Iruka coming over, the man gives some excuse, saying he had other things to do or people to see. Maiko knew they needed to talk, so with a little convincing, she got Tora and Byako to babysit Naruto. With that she was able to get Iruka to agree to meet up with her tonight so that they can have some drinks. She thought about this when Itachi tapped her on the shoulder. She asked, slowly coming back into the present. At first she thought it was Iruka, but was disappointed to find that it wasn't. "The bar is closing. The bartender has been trying to talk to you but you were zoned out," Itachi said, motioning to the irritated bartender and clock. "Kuso," she swore to herself, realizing that Iruka stood her up. She waited 2 hours for the mongrel. "Sorry. Thanks again, Itachi. Who would have thought you would be so nice to me?" She smiled at him and paid for her drink. He returned her smile and without saying anything else she left. She headed down the well-lit street, straight towards the apartment complexes. She was angry to no end that Iruka simply stood her up like that. Maiko was definitely going to wake him up and give him a piece of her mind. While thinking this, the trip down the winding streets and past the cookie-cutter apartments were a blur. When she got to his door she pounded hard, not caring if she woke anyone up, and when the door opened, she stormed right, shouldering the grouchy and sleepy Iruka. The apartment was bright and sparsely furnished. There was only a couch, a coffee table, a dining room table and chairs in the living room. The only thing that set this faded white apartment from others was one picture of Iruka and his parents right after he became a genin hanging on the wall. Maiko looked at their smiling faces that did not show how anxious they were about their only son becoming a ninja. No, in their eyes was a certain proudness that every parent got when their child just graduated from the academy. It was the same look Maiko hoped her parents would have had if they did not die a year before her own graduation. That picture is what stopped her dead in her tracks for a brief moment. Maiko, Iruka said in an eerily distant voice. She turned and looked at the man. Iruka, why did you stand me up? She asked, trying to repress the anger she was feeling. Because I do not want to talk about that thing. He said, spitting out the last word. That thing is a little boy. She said, not trying to yell, but it was getting harder and harder as each minute passed. She now started pacing the little apartment. That thing is the demon. He coolly replied. His name is Naruto and he is a human being, not a thing. She began to scream, she was now seeing red. I thought you were loyal to your village, loyal to your friends. How could you take in a monster with open arms? His voice now rising with hers. He then threw a kunai at her, she caught it and threw it back, aiming for his nose. He sidestepped it, but not fast enough to miss it, skimming his face. Shock was still in his eyes, surprised that she would go for the kill so easily. Iruka, you lost your parents at a young age, just like I did. Naruto never knew a parent's love, just hate from ignorant villagers who can't see that he is the jailer, not the prisoner. He is the reason why our precious village is not flattened in a pile of rubble right now. But, instead of being considered a hero, he is scorned. I thought you of all people would understand his loneliness of being an orphan. But I see I was wrong. With that she went to leave. Before she slammed the door behind her she only heard him mutter one thing. Demon whore. She of course relayed all of this to Kurenai and Anko the next day. Both were furious with the young ninja all three of them called a friend. Ever since then, she hasn't said a word to him. Even when she dropped Naruto off at school, she didn't look at him. So, for him to show up of all days made her suspicious. Thus, after the tour and when Naruto went into the backyard with his friends, both she and Kur-chan cornered him in the kitchen. Iruka, why are you here? Kurenai asked, while Maiko gave him the death glare. Killer intent rolled off of her towards him. Naruto invited me. He stuttered. His hand unconsciously touched the scar on his face. Police, we both know how you feel about Naruto-kun. Maiko said flatly. Look, I know I was horrible to you and Naruto in the past, but I have changed my mind. Having Naruto in my class showed me that. At first I thought he would be a menace and violent towards everyone. He wasn't like that at all. Yeah, he likes to pull pranks, but it was never harmful. He doesn't really pay attention in class, but most of the kids don't either. Naruto being in my class these past couple of years has really changed my point of view on who he really is. He is just like any other kid, just a bit more playful and stubborn. Iruka said with conviction. Maiko knew how to work people and she used it to instill fear in the man in front of her by remaining silent and giving him a deadly and contempt expression. Damn right you are. Kurenai-chan hissed under the breath. All three knew the kids were coming inside. Do anything to harm Naruto and I will personally kill you, Iruka. Maiko whispered menacingly right before Naruto tackled her from behind. She laughed and swung him around once she was able to turn around and get a better grip on his arms, trying to fool the 8-year-old and his friends. Or at least not giving them anything to worry about. Nei-chan, this is the best party ever. Thank you so much, he said giggling. She smiled a big smile, happy that Iruka's sudden appearance didn't damper everybody's mood. No problem, Oto. I'm glad you're having a good time. She gently said to him, content with how the party went even with the small incident with Iruka. Then a knock came. It was all of the children's prospective parents, not including Hinata's. This signaled the end of the party. Bye, Naruto yelled, thank you. He added after being pinched in the back by Maiko. She grinned at the adults' expressions as they left. This means Hinata has to go home as well, so thank you Naruto for letting me come too. Kurenai-chan said, ruffling his hair. Why yes, thank you Naruto-kun for inviting us. Hinata stuttered. It's okay Kurenai-senpai. You are one of Maiko Nei-chan's and Hinata-chan's friends. Which means you are a friend to me too. I'm just happy you were able to bring Hinata-chan with you. He grinned a big grin, but a pink shade rose to his cheeks. To cover up his embarrassment he quickly said goodbye to Hinata and Kurenai-chan. None of this escaped the three adults. Hinata and her escort left 10 minutes later due to extensive goodbyes. Hey, Iruka-sensei, why are you still here? The blonde-haired boy asked, his baby blues staring up at the man. Little to everyone's knowledge, Naruto isn't as oblivious as he seems. He wants to talk to me. So go get ready for bed and don't forget to say thank you to Tora and Byako also. Well, whatever happened, it wasn't me, he said quickly before bolting to the bathroom. Both Maiko and Iruka were laughing at the prankster and his mischievous jokes. She didn't speak until she heard the water run for his shower. Iruka, I wish I could believe that you have changed your mind about Naruto. But I don't, to tell you the truth, Maiko stated. I know that I could never take back what I did and said to you. The pain it must have caused. Enough. Right now, from what I can see, is that Naruto likes you. Likes you enough to invite you to his birthday party. In light of this, I will accept your apology for now. But, if you go back on your word and destroy this trust, you will regret you ever met me. Iruka gulped and nodded, and with that he left the small house. Maiko-chan? What did this man do to you to anger you so? Byako asked, concern laced in his words. He threw our friendship out the window because of Naruto's prisoner. Has he tried attacking Naruto? Tora fiercely questioned. No, if he has, he wouldn't be alive right now or be able to get close enough to Naruto. Good, because, as much as I hate to admit it, the kid has grown on me. Tora replied. Maiko laughed a little at the two tigers. Both didn't know how to react to Naruto when they first met him. Nei-chan, can we get a pet? Naruto asked right before Maiko opened the front door to their home after returning from a night out at Ichiraku's. Why? She asked the hyper boy. Well, I saw some kids playing with a dog. When I asked them why, they said he was their pet. I went to touch the dog like the other kids did when one of the boys stopped me. He said I was a demon and that he didn't want a demon petting his dog. Why do they call me a demon? As Naruto said this, the smile on Maiko's face slowly turned into a frown. She fought to gain composure. She didn't want Naruto to see her angry. It took her a couple of minutes, but she did regain composure. They call you this because their parents are ignorant fools who don't see how amazing you are. She whispered, afraid that her voice would give her away. She heard sniffling and looked down at Naruto. Dang it, I don't want to cry anymore, especially in front of you. He mumbled. Maiko grabbed the bawling kid and wrapped him up into a tight hug. You silly kid, it's all right to cry. You just got to know when it is the right time and when to stop, and more importantly why you should cry. I can tell you right now, it is understandable why you are crying. But as long as you stop and move on, I'm okay with you crying. She said, rubbing his back to calm him down. Slowly but surely he stopped, and leaning away to look her in the face, he smiled. Thanks Nei-chan, I don't know what I would do without you. No prob, kiddo. As for your other question, I already own a pet, sorta. Really? But I never met it before. He said with an adorable pout. Well, I said they are sorta like pets. I fight and train with them, and to call them I have to use a jutsu. Maiko explained with a grin. Cool, can I meet them, can I meet them? He yelled, breaking the hug, and began jumping up and down on the front porch. Ha ha ha, sure. She then took a step back, biting her thumb and performing the hand signs. She did the summoning jutsu. With a poof, Tora and Byako appeared in front of her. Their backs were turned away from Naruto. Oh my god, they are so cool, he squealed, launching himself onto the two tigers. Both were too shocked to react. Neither of them encountered a 5-year-old boy, let alone an over-emotional and hyperactive one. I wanted to introduce you guys to Naruto. He will be living with me for now on, so I want you three to get to know each other. So Tora, Byako, this is Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto, the reddish-orange one is Tora and the white one is Byako. Hi. Naruto waved rapidly to the tigers after getting off of them. When the two felines looked him over, they gave Maiko a shocked and incredulous look. He looked almost exactly like her two beloved teachers, Minato-sensei and Ayame-sensei. It is very nice to meet you, Naruto. Byako said hesitantly, and with an encouraging smile from Maiko, Tora followed suit. Hey Byako, Tora, you wanna play tag with me? Naruto asked gleefully. Awe was also in his voice, and Maiko knew he really liked the two tigers. What's tag? Tora asked. It seems in the tiger world they never played tag before. Think of it as training, Maiko said gingerly. With that statement, the overgrown cats agreed to play with the hyperactive boy. Later that night, and hours after the three first began playing tag, Naruto collapsed on his bed too exhausted to change into his pajamas and take a bath. Maiko smiled down on him after tucking him in. Is he? Yes, Byako. He is Minato-sensei's son. It was even confirmed by the Sandaime when I first took him in. She whispered, not wanting to wake the sleeping boy. Then why do the villagers act that way towards him? Tora hissed under his breath. Apparently people couldn't stop themselves from voicing their opinions when passing by the house. He is the Kyuubi's container. His birth records are sealed and he is forced to take his mother's maiden name for his protection. When he is older he can unseal them and adopt his father's legacy, if he wants to. If? Tora asked. I don't know how Naruto will react to learning about his prisoner. Let alone the fact that his father is the one who sealed it in him. Very true, Byako stated. Enough with the serious talk. Thank you for playing with him today. With that said, Maiko began to pet both tigers and scratched underneath their chins. A low and quiet purr escaped their jaws. You always know the right place. If this happens every time we hang out with the kid, I wouldn't mind. Tora mumbled into her hand. Byako purred in agreement. Remember what you just said because I might just use this in the future. Also, our training session is in 2 days. So go and get some rest. Maiko gently whispered to her fighting partners. They again rubbed their cheeks against her palm in agreement, and, poof. They disappeared. I guess you two stuck around for your end of the bargain. Maiko said after locking all the doors and windows for the night. Yes, but we also wanted to make sure nothing happens to you and Naruto. Byako stated. Thanks, you two are truly the best. She said smiling, walked over, and petted the 2 tigers. After 10 minutes, Naruto scampered back into the living room. Nei-chan, can you tuck me in and read me a story like you used to do when I first moved in? He asked hesitantly. Sure kiddo. Tora, Byako, would you like to join us? Why not? Tora commented and all 4 of them headed to Naruto's room. Maiko Senju. A messenger ninja said to the smug Kunoichi at her desk in the interrogation headquarters. She mumbled without looking up from her papers. The Hokage wishes to see you in his office. With that he left feeling no doubt out of place in the quiet room amongst some of the scariest ninjas in their village. Maiko looked towards her superior Ibiki, not even voicing her question. He nodded his permission and went back to his own work in front of the dimly lit room. Anko curiously lifted her head from dozing off, sitting up only a little bit so she didn't remove her boots from the piles of paper on her desk, and watched Maiko walk towards the exit. Maiko chuckled softly and waved goodbye before closing the door behind her. Maiko, too, was curious as to why the Hokage wished to speak to her. It's definitely not for a mission, and if it were for an interrogation then Ibiki-sensei would have been called on as well. That only leaves Naruto. I wonder what trouble he has caused with his new shadow clones. I hope Hokage-sama isn't going to reprimand me for teaching him that to pass the genin exam. She mused to herself, heading to the Hokage's office. Oddly enough, when she got to the building the Sandaime was awaiting for her outside with Iruka of all people. Even though Iruka and her patched up their relationship, it was still uneasy between them at times due to the lingering feelings of their animosity. Mostly on her part, for Iruka has truly tried to make amends, and Maiko knew she eventually would have to tell him she already has forgiven him fully. But it was still fun to see Iruka squirm at times when he thought he said something wrong. She has spent way too much time with Anko. Sandaime-sama, Iruka. Maiko greeted impassively, but inside she had a bad feeling growing in the pit of her stomach. Maiko, good you are here. Naruto has stolen a dangerous and forbidden scroll and Root fears the worst. That he will try to learn those techniques and take revenge on the village. Hokage-sama stated gravely but hesitantly. What? Both Iruka and Maiko screamed. Naruto would never do that. He doesn't even know about his prisoner. Maiko continued. I know Maiko, but Danzo doesn't. This is why I am giving you both a couple of hours to find Naruto and return the scroll back to safety. I shall stall Danzo for as long as possible. I pray to Kami that you two succeed. He said before turning around and leaving the 2 stunned ninjas. Maiko was the first to snap out of it, but Iruka reacted faster. We will have to split up and… Iruka began to say but was cut off by Maiko performing a summoning jutsu. With a loud poof and the clearing of smoke, a lean and agile Bengal tiger sat in front of them. Michi, I need you to track down this person. Maiko stated while pulling out a vial with a golden lock of hair in it. She then proceeded to unplug it and put it in front of the tiger's brownish-pink nose. She sniffed it and took off towards the training grounds. Naruto slumped against the tree, exhausted and thrilled that he actually got the scroll. He was so smug and content that a purr would be the best noise he could make to express how he felt at the moment. Not even Sasuke Teme could accomplish this. Mizuki-sensei told him when the young Chunin approached him about getting extra credit to bump Naruto up to being top of the class. Naruto Uzumaki practically bounced up and down in his seat raring to pass the final genin exams. He knew he would pass now that he learned the shadow clone jutsu technique from Maiko. He couldn't believe his eyes hours after she taught him that he actually created a clone that was usable. She too was surprised, it was evident in her face. That was 2 days ago and he had completely mastered the technique, now being able to make up to 10 shadow clones of himself at one time. Will ya stop moving? It's getting to be really annoying. Kiba growled at him, trying to hide how nervous he was. Naruto just stuck his tongue out and continued to bounce up and down, impatiently waiting on hearing his name be called out. Do you think WWE will be on the same Team N Naruto-kun? Hinata stammered, trying to subside her own nervousness. I hope so. If not, we can always hang out in between missions, he said to her, but soon regretted it when he saw her frown. Her eyebrows slowly cinched down, her lips tugged in the same direction, and sadness plagued her pale eyes. This expression Naruto never saw before and didn't know how to react to. He wanted to comfort her but didn't know how. So, he remained silent. Hinata Hyuga, Iruka-sensei yelled from the enclosed office off the classroom. She then entered the room. Naruto then felt even worse for not wishing her luck. The guilt got worse with each minute she was in there. To his relief, Hinata walked out 10 minutes later, a smile on her face and a forehead protector around her neck. Great job, Hinata-chan, he said in unison with her friends, but only he hugged her. Naruto Uzumaki, Iruka called. Good luck, Naruto-kun, Hinata whispered demurely to him. He grinned a guilty grin. I'm sorry, I didn't wish you luck as well, he whispered back. Naruto, if you don't get in here right this minute I will fail you. Iruka-sensei screamed, irritated. With that, Naruto bolted into the small office. At the cramped desk sat Iruka-sensei and Mizuki-sensei. Now Naruto, you know that to pass you must perform the substitution jutsu, the transformation jutsu, and the clone jutsu. Naruto gave them a cocky grin and went through the motions. He first did the substitution jutsu and replaced himself with the stray chair in front of the desk. Next came the transformation jutsu, and to the relief of Iruka, became the perfect clone of the third. All of this happened within minutes. He saw the apprehension build in Iruka's face, but he did not see Mizuki's confident and evil grin, or else Naruto's own would have faltered. Eat this, Sasuke Teme, he thought, and made a cross with his fingers. And, poof, a clone appeared. Naruto, both of them, looked at each other expectantly. Yahoo! They both shouted and gave the other a high five. When looking back at the two Chunin, they saw amazement and shock on their faces. So, did we pass? One Naruto asked nonchalantly. Both clones knew the answer, but they still wanted to hear it from their teachers. Of course you do. In fact, you should get extra credit if anything, Iruka-sensei said proudly. But Iruka, is it enough? The boy's grades are so low, Mizuki-sensei asked. This worried Naruto. Mizuki, that's true, but if he could learn in a ranked jutsu then he should definitely pass. Even you and I can't do that jutsu. Besides, taking tests and having book smarts doesn't make a ninja, it just helps. Iruka replied. Mizuki was overruled and he knew it. So he nodded his head reluctantly. Congratulations Naruto, you are now officially a genin ninja of Konoha. Iruka-sensei told him while handing the forehead protector to Naruto he has always dreamed of ever since he met Maiko. Hastily he threw his goggles off his head and replaced them with the protector. Afterwards he quickly grinned at the two ninja in front of him and then ran out of the room to celebrate with his friends. Hours later, to Naruto's joy, all of his friends passed. To celebrate they all played on the playground at a nearby park, ditching school early. They were playing ninja and laughing their heads off when Mizuki approached them. If you want me to take those protectors back I will, if not then run back to the academy and wait for your classmates to pass before Iruka notices you all left. He said, and they all started running, but when Naruto passed him, Mizuki held out his hand to slow him down. "Naruto, I wish to speak to you privately." "Oh, okay," he stammered. Naruto was nervous as to why Mizuki-sensei wanted to talk to him alone, but not wanting to have his protector revoked, he agreed. "How would you like to earn some extra credit that will make you top of the class, even higher than Sasuke?" Naruto obviously leapt at the chance to beat his rival, as well as make his grades go up to make Maiko proud of him. All he had to do was steal a scroll without anyone finding out. To keep it that way, Mizuki suggested that Naruto use a clone to take his place in class. He at first felt bad about lying to his friends through a clone, but he didn't want to share this opportunity because he wanted to prove himself to everyone in the village. He followed Mizuki-sensei's directions to where the scroll was hidden to a T. Naruto was shocked to find out that it was a large vacated mansion he was to break into. As Naruto looked upon the mansion, he couldn't help but feel a sense of belonging, like he has been there or was meant to be there. He jumped the white picket fence, shaking off these confusing feelings, and landed in a bush full of roses. He cut himself all over, blood oozing out mostly from his arms and legs. But the injuries quickly healed themselves like usual. He ran through the spacious and green yard up to the bright white home. As he got closer, the more inviting the place felt. It was calling to him. What was stranger was he opened the door to find it unlocked. Naruto walked into the airy hallway. The walls were a pale yellow and the floors were a warm tan hardwood, most likely oak. He slowly walked down the hallway, looking into open rooms, past a kitchen and straight to a stairway. But all along the walls were pictures of a man and woman. The man was tall with spiky blonde hair as bright as Naruto's and blue eyes to match. Most of the time the man was standing next to a woman with brilliant red hair. "Beautiful," Naruto whispered as he slightly traced her hair in his mind. Her brilliant green eyes called to him. He could tell that the two were in love. He felt ashamed that he broke into their house and disturbed their sanctuary. But as much as he wanted to turn around and run away, something propelled him further. At the end of the hallway next to the stairs was a door. On this door was a piece of paper with weird symbols and squiggles. Naruto walked right up to it and rubbed his hand on it just to feel the paper and if anything was hidden underneath it. When he removed his hand, he saw he accidentally smeared his blood on it. He gasped, unsure what to do, but strangely enough the paper just absorbed the smeared blood and the door opened, revealing a brilliant library. Naruto's feet got caught up between themselves, causing him to stumble into the large hexagonal room. On each wall were rows upon rows of books and scrolls except for the wall with the door he just entered. Above the mahogany bookshelves, giant windows let in the sunlight to illuminate the room. The desk and floor was also made out of mahogany wood. Naruto circled the room starting from his left. He loved the warm atmosphere the library created. As he was looking at all of the various scrolls and books, he stopped at the desk and sat down in the green cotton chair. Naruto looked at the desk with its sprawled out papers and pictures. He took a closer look at the pictures. One was similar to the other in the hallway, involving the man and the woman. But this time the woman was pregnant, very far along by what Naruto could tell. Next to it is a picture of the same man and woman but with Maiko's sensei. She looked like the exact replica of the man. They must have been brother and sister. Guilt seared through Naruto, making him rethink his decision again. But on the other side of the desk he saw a scroll peeking out behind two other pictures. This time the man by himself with his sensei when he was younger and another of him with his own genin team from what Naruto could interpret. Naruto grabbed the scroll and saw that it was actually really big and had the markers that Mizuki-sensei told him about. Swallowing his guilt, he threw the scroll on his back and took off before he doubted himself into losing the extra credit opportunity. He ran as fast as he could and only stopped right outside the academy walls on a tree branch to catch his breath. He looked through the window at his class and smiled a little at how rowdy his friends were. But then he looked at Sakura and was awestruck. She looked almost exactly like the red-headed woman in the pictures at the mansion. Well, except for the pink hair, but either way both colors are exotic. Probably what got Naruto the most was how green both of the two females' eyes were, and that is when Naruto fell in love with the pink-haired Kunoichi. He knew he was staring at her way too long and knew that if he stayed there any longer then he would definitely be caught. So he headed towards the meeting place Mizuki-sensei made for them. Naruto's stomach has butterflies every time he imagines Sakura in his head and wonders if this is what love feels like. He's asked Maiko plenty of times, but she said that he would know undoubtedly when it happens to him. So Naruto just assumed that what he was feeling was love towards the green-eyed kunoichi. Too bad she was infatuated with that damn Sasuke. Another reason to despise and beat Sasuke Uchiha. To pass the time, Naruto decided to look at the scroll he retrieved. Reading through it, he saw a familiar jutsu, the Shadow Clone Jutsu. He grinned knowing that he already knew how to do something in the scroll. But he was fascinated by the other highly complicated jutsus. One even gave the user the ability to teleport from one spot to the other. Naruto really wanted to learn that one, and thought of all the things he could do with that jutsu. While musing over those thoughts, he heard a twig crack and looked up to find Iruka in front of him with a mixture of worry and anger on his face. "Iruka-sensei, did I pass? Did I pass?" Naruto asked innocently enough that Maiko was shocked. She was so shocked she remained hidden, waiting for Naruto to explain further. She was shocked even more so when she saw the scroll from where she was hiding. This explains how he got the scroll so easily. Maiko thought noticing the sacred scroll of seals that was supposed to be locked away in the fourth's mansion. Tread lightly, Iruka, for Naruto can release the Kyuubi accidentally if he gets angered too much. "What are you talking about?" Iruka questioned. Maiko sighed exasperatedly, remembering how blunt men can be. That's when she felt another chakra presence. Looking diagonally to one of the trees, she saw Mizuki throwing his kunai towards Naruto and Iruka. "Nice job in finding our little hiding place," Mizuki commented. Maiko, seeing how all of the kunai in his hands were not directed to be deadly, decided to stay put to see how it goes down. What she couldn't help was the killer intent that was most likely rolling off of her in waves. She tried to keep it minimal though, so he couldn't guess where she was hiding in the bushes. "Mizuki told me that if I retrieved this scroll and learned something from it, I can get extra credit and get a higher grade than Sasuke Teme," Naruto explained further. Maiko felt her blood drain away from her face. She couldn't believe she didn't realize what Mizuki's plan was the moment he came to the clearing. She can tell that Iruka felt the same way by the way Iruka rounded on Mizuki. Maiko felt worse for Naruto as he watched the two fight. To her horror, Mizuki began to talk about that night 12 years ago. If it could get any worse, it just did. Maiko didn't want Naruto to find out about his prisoner at this age, especially in this manner. What destruction it could do to Naruto emotionally, mentally, and physically could be disastrous. So she finally stepped out of her hiding place when Mizuki started to talk about the nine-tailed fox. "That is enough, Mizuki. It is forbidden to tell Naruto this," she stated in a cool and deadly tone. Her vision was turning from a faded pink to a bloodier red as the seconds passed from Mizuki's astonishment of her being there. "Maiko-chan, how long have you been hiding?" Naruto asked, trembling a bit from nervousness. She could tell how frightened and confused he was right now, and she had to suppress the urge to kill Mizuki at the moment. Instead, she turned to Naruto and silently she went over to him and asked for his protector. "You will get it back after this is done, and we have a little talk about your actions here tonight." Maiko explained further, and he realized this as a punishment. She hoped this would take more precedence in his mind than wondering what Mizuki was talking about. Unfortunately, Mizuki did not help her case by continuing on about not trusting her or Iruka. "Naruto, don't listen to her or Iruka. They both hate you and would kill you in a heartbeat if they could. See, 12 years ago, I said enough." Maiko screamed and began to attack him, but anger and grief clouded her mind and made it harder to hit Mizuki. She was not in control of her body and was slower and clumsier from inner emotional turmoil. He kept dodging and told the story about that night 12 years ago, clearly enjoying the look on Naruto's face darken and how Maiko made more and more boneheaded moves as she grew more distracted. She knew attacking Mizuki was not going over well, especially how it was probably sending Naruto the wrong message. Maiko stopped her onslaught and tried to explain to Naruto everything and regain control of herself. "What he says is true, Mateam and Iruka's family was killed that night. And the Kyuubi is inside of you. Now that is enough for you, Maiko. Naruto doesn't need to know all of this, only that everyone in this village hates him and that he is going to die tonight." Mizuki reached for his massive shuriken and flung it towards the boy. Both Maiko and Iruka went to shield him. Iruka, moving the slowest, ended on top. But with her lightning-fast reflexes, Maiko took Naruto's forehead protector and used it to cover the spot the shuriken was going to hit on Iruka's back. It split the headband into two but stopped the massive shuriken from hitting any of Iruka's organs. Iruka, ignoring his wound and how deadly the situation was, began to tell Naruto his own story. As the tears ran from his face onto both Maiko and Naruto, Mizuki just chuckled and planted even more doubt inside the young boy's head. It was effective as Iruka, Maiko, and Mizuki watched Naruto run off with the scroll. "I will finish you two off after I get the scroll and kill Naruto Uzumaki," Mizuki stated before following Naruto. Maiko gently lifted Iruka off of her, but not as gently as she thought by the way Iruka groaned. "Go on ahead of me. I will just slow you down." Iruka moaned and Maiko would have agreed with him if she didn't see how much blood he was losing from all of his wounds. "We are going to do this together because if I leave you here you will bleed out and possibly die. I have a plan but we need to trust each other. I have fully forgiven you for the past year now and I need to know if you trust me," she said fiercely. He nodded his head and allowed her to transform him into a replica of the scroll and herself into Naruto. She once more gently picked him up and dashed through the trees trying to catch up to Mizuki and hoped that he hasn't found Naruto yet. It seemed like eternity for her as she ran and leapt from tree to tree. The night was growing longer and there was no sign of either Naruto or Mizuki. Maiko's worst fears of losing Naruto forever seemed more and more likely and darkened her own mood. The moon crept slowly over the horizon as the minutes turned into hours of a seamlessly endless chase. When it looked as if she would lose all hope, Maiko spotted Mizuki. Quickly she was able to outstrip him and waited for another 10 minutes before appearing in front of Mizuki as the real Naruto. Silently, Mizuki transformed himself into Iruka and caught up to them. He tried to persuade the transformed Maiko into giving him the scroll. Maiko used all of her might to keep the distraught face and not smile or crack up at how Mizuki has fallen into her trap or rip his throat out at the present moment. When he positioned himself in front of her, she shouldered him in his sternum trying to crack it and hit one of his organs. Instead it just got the wind knocked out of him and all three landed in another clearing inside the dense wood of the training ground. The moon was setting and barely illuminated them but it was just enough so that when she transformed back Iruka and herself into their normal selves Mizuki knew he was duped and caught. "I will not allow you to lay one finger, toe, or body part of yours on Naruto or the scroll," Maiko growled at him. This time she did not turn her back to Mizuki but stepped slightly in front of Iruka just in case Mizuki tried to attack him. Noticing Iruka's pale face made Maiko feel even more urgent in killing Mizuki and then finding Naruto so she could get Iruka to a hospital before he bled out. "Come on, we both know that Naruto at this very moment is plotting his revenge on the village and will mess with the scroll more, unleashing the beast. Then again he already is one just in human form. You saw the look in his eyes when he ran away, it was the look of a monster." Maiko was about to protest and then rip him limb from limb until she heard Iruka speak. "You're right, that is what a monster would do. Iruka, do you really see Naruto as that? How many times do I have to tell everyone he is not a monster? If he was, would you really think the Sandaime would let him run around innocent people or their kids? Do you think I would have welcomed him with open arms and let him sleep under my roof?" Maiko rounded on him. Iruka gave her a look to shut up before he justified himself. "I know Naruto is not a monster, he is just like every other kid, and I believe in him," is what he gasped out with a more audible hiss of pain from overexerting himself by trying to sit more upright against the tree. Maiko couldn't help but beam with pride and add her own little speech to Mizuki who scoffed at them. "I do as well. When I first met Naruto I did not see the Kyuubi, I saw a kid. That is how I have always seen him. He is my brother first, my friend second, charge third, child fourth, and so on and so forth. Even then I don't see him as a monster, just the jailer to the beast. That means I will protect him with my life if I have to." Iruka grunted with agreement. "I can make that happen," Mizuki stated. Maiko prepared herself by lowering into her unusual fighting stance but then Naruto appeared. She cursed herself more at not noticing his chakra signature. It looks like she will have to meditate more so she will never run away with her emotions at a crucial moment like this again. She would never forgive herself for letting Naruto get hurt or killed just because she couldn't keep herself in check while fighting. "You will not hurt my sensei or my sister or I will kill you," the dirty and sweaty boy boomed. His whisker marks lengthened and became more pronounced. Maiko noticed his canines being a fraction bigger and sharper than normal, and the rage in his eyes were more intense than she has ever seen. Clearly it was not the same Naruto she knows and loves. She then felt an unexpected prick where her scar is. Is he connecting with the fox? But he still seems in control? I need to end this quickly before he unleashes the demon within. She thought, and her heart raced. She tried to move, but the killer intent of Naruto's rooted her to the spot. Bring it, kid, not even your one shadow clone will save you. Good thing I can make more than one. Naruto retorted and made what seemed over 1,000 clones in the small clearing. Not even 10 minutes later he released all of his clones to reveal a severely beat up Mizuki. Hee, I went a little overboard. He chuckled as he looked at the two ninjas' stunned faces. Maiko was able to move again, and the little boy she took in all those years ago resurfaced. The sunlight peeked through the trees, revealing a tired Genin. The night's events clearly took a toll on him. That's all right, kiddo, come here. Maiko said and hugged the boy tighter than ever before. He mumbled something about not being able to breathe before letting go. Naruto, come here and close your eyes. Iruka asked, and Naruto obeyed. Maiko was about to cry watching Iruka struggle with his protector, knowing what he was going to do. She just walked over quietly and helped him take it off and tie it around Naruto's head. When Naruto opened his eyes and realized this, he jumped into Iruka's arms, thanking him. How about we all go to Ichiraku's tonight? Iruka groaned as Naruto shifted in his embrace to look at Maiko for approval. After we take Iruka to the hospital to get healed and checked up on. She laughed more when Naruto leapt into her arms with a squeal of delight. She thought that they could talk the next day about his actions and punishment. Right now she was just happy that nobody died and that the Kyuubi wasn't released. Oni-chan, I know I'm still grounded, but I made a new friend today and I was wondering if I can invite him over for dinner tomorrow. Naruto hesitantly asked Maiko as she was making dinner. Ever since the Mizuki incident he has been grounded from leaving the house or hanging out or talking to his friends. To keep an eye on him while she was at work, the two tigers, Tora and Byako, have been tailing him. As their payment they get to stay for dinner, which Maiko makes since Naruto is also banned from Ichiraku's ramen stand. If you know you are still grounded, then why are you asking me this? She replied evenly enough as she flipped over the pork chops before putting them in the oven. Since then she also has been stricter about who he talked to and what he wanted to do. Naruto saw this as her becoming more of a mom than the older sister he saw her as. Well, I feel bad for the kid and wanted to give him a nice meal. Naruto replied, looking at the tigers for support. Both of them met Konohamaru and know the kid's story and why Naruto liked him so much. Naruto just wasn't sure if they liked the kid or not. Konohamaru is a nice boy who would benefit much more eating with us than it would be a negative for breaking Naruto's grounding sentence for a night. Byako stated diplomatically, in which Maiko agreed to after 10 minutes and a long stare down at the tigers. When she turned her back to get dinner, Naruto hugged the overgrown feline to show his appreciation. Yo, Konohamaru, you want to have dinner with my sister and me tonight? He called out after re-entering his photograph to the Hokage the next afternoon. He caught the kid trying to sneak in there again. Really? That would be awesome. But Ebisu would have to come with. He added a little dejectedly. Naruto agreed to it to get the kid to smile again, plus Nei-chan will be there to keep the bastard in check. He can only imagine what Maiko-chan would do to the man if he said anything insulting or did anything hostile towards him. Despite being stricter about his movements, she has also grown more protective. If one person so much as hissed towards him, her killer intent would seep into their general presence, scaring them off. She also taught Naruto how to whistle. If he made a certain whistle, she would be there in a heartbeat, ready to take out anyone whom he viewed as a danger to his well-being. Just make sure to be over around 6. Naruto added to him as he saw the kid run into the Hokage's office telling him the news about having dinner over at Naruto's house. He himself couldn't help but chuckle at the kid's overenthusiasm. He wondered what Maiko would think of the kid. She seemed to like everyone in the village well enough as long they don't threaten Naruto, but he has only met 2 of her friends, one of them being his sensei. So he really couldn't tell if the general populace liked her back. Later that night the boy and his trainer arrived promptly at 5:55 right before Maiko placed dinner on the table. So it was Naruto who had to open the door to the hostile trainer and the kid about to drop the carrot cake all over himself because he was too excited to see where Naruto lived. "Hello Ebisu, and who is the young man before me?" Maiko smoothly asked for introductions and took the cake out the boy's hands before the three males could say anything to one another. It was spooky how she can appear out of nowhere, another skill she gained after that night. Naruto wasn't sure if he should thank or yell at Mizuki for the change in Maiko. "This is the honorable grandson," Ebisu said icily, making Naruto's blood boil at how rude he was being to his sister. If she wasn't there he would have told him off and used his harem jutsu to scare off the pervert again. And does the honorable grandson have a name, or is it honorable grandson? If so, I have severe doubts on your mother and your grandfather's judgment on names. She continued on, ignoring Ebisu. Both guests were too aghast at her bold move and how skillfully she used it. "Konohamaru," Naruto replied for the kid, who apparently was too shocked to speak. "Well, it is nice to meet you, Konohamaru. I have heard nice things from Naruto, Tora, and Byako, my tiger summons." Ebisu snorted once but stopped immediately when the tigers growled at him. They were up until that moment hidden in the kitchen but showed themselves at once, feeling the animosity grow between Ebisu and Maiko. "Why don't you give Konohamaru a tour of the house? Ebisu and I need to chat before we all eat dinner." Naruto gave Konohamaru a tour like Maiko asked, guessing that she was giving Ebisu a talk about manners. Naruto guessed right when he and Konohamaru returned and settled themselves down to dinner, seeing Ebisu's face drained of all color and sitting extremely stiff next to Maiko-chan, and kept looking at the two felines sitting on either side of her. His eyes rhythmically followed the swish of their tails. "I hope you like beef stew, Konohamaru," she stated as she served everyone. Maiko ignored Ebisu and how different he was acting before Konohamaru and Naruto left them alone. Naruto tried not to laugh as Ebisu flinched when Maiko accidentally touched him when handing him his dinner. "Hey, Naruto, is she one of those people you were talking about? The one that respects and loves you?" Konohamaru whispered a little too loud for Maiko looked up at him strangely. "Yup, she took me in when I was 5 and has been there for me ever since. She's practically my older sister with motherly tendencies, or else I would have gotten away with this awesome prank of painting on the Hokage's faces on the mountain," he replied embarrassedly. But he returned to normal and began to laugh along with Maiko at Ebisu's face of outrage and Konohamaru's face full of awe. "That is very disrespectful, Naruto. How would you feel when you're old or passed away that a young prankster drew all over your face? I don't know if you know this, but it is his dream to become Hokage one day." "What about you, Konohamaru? What is your dream?" she asked, making the boy open up more, seeing how he has been strangely quiet the entire evening thus far. "I'm going to be Hokage too," he said so fiercely that she agreed that with his attitude he would succeed. The rest of the night was spent in comfortable chatter until it was 9 and Konohamaru began to yawn ferociously. "Well, it's time for me to get Konohamaru home before his mother and grandfather begins to worry. Thank you for the dinner, goodbye," Ebisu said rather quickly before exiting to wait outside for Konohamaru. "Yes, thank you for the amazing dinner. You two are the best. Can we do this some other time?" he asked eagerly. The young wannabe ninja looked up at the kunoichi, giving her a puppy dog look he knew always worked with his family. "If you wish, Konohamaru, but not too soon. I will talk to your mother first," she replied to the young boy, but only the fact that she said yes registered in his mind as excitedly hugged her and left. "I now know why you like him so much. That boy has so much respect and admiration for you, Naruto. What you did by inviting him over was very nice of you. Your grounding will be finished the day of your orientation," Maiko told him, making this night even better. "Arigato Onee-chan," the 12-year-old squealed before running off to get ready for bed. "You sure that was smart, Mai-chan?" Tora asked, and she just nodded before saying good night to them as well and retiring for the night. Kurenai Yuhi nervously started to twirl her hair. Her eyes were trying to spot warm chocolate brown hair amongst the sea of Junin assembled in the tiny room. She was excited that she would be a sensei and wanted to share it with her best friend. Maiko promised she would be there, so why she wasn't there yet was bothering Kurenai. "Relax, Kurenai. I bet your team will be amazing," Asuma said to her while putting his rough hand on her shoulder to reassure her. She turned and gave the man a warm smile, hoping that her racing heart wouldn't give her away. "That's not it, but arigato." she said and quickly faced forward before she started to stare at his handsome face. I don't know why I can't act normal around him. He must think I hate him or something. At least that's what Mai-chan and Enko keep telling me. She berated herself mentally. It's alright, Asuma. She was worried about me. I am running a bit late. Maiko's voice rang through the crowd. Once Kurenai spotted her friend, she grabbed her and gave her a big hug. She knew about the Mizuki incident but has not been able to see her due to her working late so much this past week or two and then Naruto being grounded so he couldn't hang out with Hinata-chan. Is everything okay? Asuma asked, not sure what was going on between the two kunoichi in front of him. Nothing's wrong. Naruto is still grounded and tried to pull the whole sick ruse. Naruto is even more restless now that his sentence will be up tomorrow. I hope Tora and Byako can handle him. They don't realize it yet but they can be extremely soft on him, she said with a knowing smile. Kurenai and Asuma nodded their heads, Kurenai in agreement and Asuma just following Kurenai's lead. Seeing how most of you are here, let's begin. Iruka, if you would please name the teams. The Sandaime exclaimed after getting comfortable in his seat. An hour passed and to Maiko, it seemed as if Iruka was listing the teams off at random. Finally he got to the names the three Junin were interested in. Team 10's Junin will be Asuma Sarutobi. The Genin will be Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara, and Choji Akamichi. I see that they are hoping to repeat the success their parents had together. Maiko whispered and Asuma and some surrounding Junin grunted their agreement. This entire time everyone in the room was silent except for the few sporadic congratulations. Team 8 will be headed under Kurenai Yuhi. Kiba Inazuka, Hinata Hyuga, and Shino Aburame will be the Genin squad. Damn, I hoped Naruto would be a part of my team. Kurenai muttered while Asuma patted her on the shoulder for a second time that evening. Thankfully he was standing behind her so he couldn't see the pink creep up to her face. The three combined would make a great tracking team. I wonder who Naruto's sensei could be then. Maiko commented only to have her question answered. And last but not least, Kakashi Hitaki will be the leader of Team 7. He will be teaching Sakura Haruno, Sasuke Uchiha, and Naruto Uzumaki. Before Iruka finished saying Naruto's name a huge uproar began. Don't put that monster on the same team as Sasuke, was the general theme of what the crowd was shouting. With chairs and other objects being thrown across the room, Asuma, Kurenai, and Maiko sat in the back waiting for everything to calm down. It seemed that the Hokage had the same idea. I see no problem with this grouping. Iruka, please give us your reasoning behind this decision, the third said after 30 minutes of uproar. She couldn't help but feel bad for her friend, but being a true shinobi, Iruka gulped but nodded his assent. Sasuke Uchiha is one of the best students in my class, Naruto Uzumaki is the opposite. This I believe would balance it out so that no team would have an edge over another. He explained, but Maiko knew that was definitely not his intentions. He thought with Uchiha on Naruto's team Naruto would grow stronger. In Maiko's opinion, Naruto has enough chakra to power the city. Control is the key lesson Naruto needs to master. This is quite evident when Naruto took out Mizuki and didn't even bat an eye after dispelling hundreds of his clones. She didn't complain or challenge Iruka's decision though. She was curious to see how this team works out. Sasuke Uchiha is the Genin's resident genius according to the rumors amongst the village. To Naruto he is a vain, arrogant jerk who thinks he is the best ninja ever to exist. Maiko wasn't sure if he was exaggerating, but if Sasuke Uchiha was anything like his father then she wouldn't be surprised. Then there was Sakura, Naruto's current crush, who is all book smarts and has her head in the clouds with notions of a romantic life being a ninja. Maiko thought she was a nice enough girl, but not for Naruto. She doesn't know what spurred this sudden attraction. She just hoped he will get through this crush phase fast. Even though the grouping was interesting all on its own, they were thrown under the leadership of Kakashi Hitaki. Maiko hasn't seen nor heard about Kakashi Hitaki for 12 years now. Well, other than the rantings from Guy. But it is always the same about how cool and aloof he was. Maiko only cared if he will notice Naruto and his obvious lineage. Even more curiously, she wondered how he will react to the strange dynamic of his new team. If he was anything like the old days, he was going to have a handful with Naruto. Maiko smiled outwardly at this. Penny for your thoughts, Maiko-chan? Asuma asked her after the meeting was called to an end and people were filing out. Maiko could hear them mutter something bitter and rude about Naruto being on the Uchiha's team, but at the moment she didn't care. As long there were no threats, Maiko didn't take any notice of it. Just thinking of how much of a handful Naruto will be for Kakashi. She chuckled and Kurenai joined in. Asuma never really met Naruto, so he didn't understand, but his mood clearly brightened with Kurenai's laugh. Maiko truly wished one of them would just ask the other out, but not wanting to be rude or nosy left it alone. Instead, she contented with herself with imagining the little tykes they could produce. If they had a daughter, Maiko imagined her to have Asuma's beautiful blue hair and bone structure with Kurenai's skin tone and violent red eyes. Their son would look like Asuma but with Kurenai's black hair and slim physique. Either way it went, they would produce some good-looking kids in Maiko's opinion. This of course she never talked about unless alone with Enko-chan. The two were truly amazed at how long Kurenai and Asuma have danced around it and had many a long, and sometimes drunk on Enko's side rather than hers, talk about it. Well, I will give Kakashi the heads up when I tell him about his team. He replied heartily. Nani? He isn't here? Maiko asked incredulously and snapped back to reality. Yeah, I expected him to be late not to miss the meeting. Kurenai responded. He said he saw a black cat or walked under a ladder, something along those lines. Asuma ruefully answered. This seemed peculiar to Maiko but not surprising to Kurenai. Him being late, let alone missing the meeting altogether with such a lame excuse, does not sound like the Kakashi I used to know. Maiko stated, hoping for one of them to explain. How long has it been since you last seen him? Asuma asked. 12 years at least. Wow, both of you sure have changed a lot. Asuma replied. I beg your pardon, I don't think I have changed at all. Maiko retorted. You're clueless, aren't you? What do you mean, Asuma? How should I put this? Physically and fighting-wise you are not your same old self. You are a bit of a legend or part of a lot of gossip in this village. Especially amongst the men, Asuma said embarrassedly. Maiko and Kurenai both knew better than to think he liked Maiko more than as a friend, but anybody else would have been suspicious at the statement. Thanks for the update. Maiko replied back awkwardly, realizing for the first time how different she really was. She looked down at what she was wearing and thought back to 12 years ago. Her hair is definitely shorter and the clothes she wears now is radically different from the cute and non-exposing attire she had when she getting used to her still growing body. If I have changed this much, I wonder what Kakashi looks like now. She mused for a couple of minutes. But no matter what she envisioned, it just didn't seem right in her brain. I guess I will just have to wait until I see him. Weren't you just telling me, Maiko, that you are quitting the interrogation unit? Kurenai asked, trying to break the silence that came over the three. Yes, I am, the day after tomorrow actually. Then I will be just a regular Junin who can be sent on missions or do some other work around here. Maiko answered and was launched into a whole other topic of whether or not she would want her own genin team in the future or not. 2 more hours flew by and Maiko had to go home to relieve Tora and Byako of their job. With a lot of goodbyes, she left to come home to a still restless Naruto. Kakashi Hitaki just passed his first genin team and wasn't sure how he felt about the three. They clearly brought him back to his own days in a genin squad. Naruto is just like Obito, the talker and class clown of the group with hidden talent and strength. Sakura is like Rin, but Kakashi doesn't remember her ever having that huge of a crush on him, even though, like Naruto, it was obvious that Obito had a crush on her. Sasuke was the miniature of himself, arrogant, self-centered, and believed that he is surrounded by idiots or losers. Kakashi liked the fact that he can say he has changed and outgrew those feelings. Hopefully Sasuke can do the same. Yahoo! Naruto continually shouted after they went back and untied him from the post. The excited genin whistled and stopped dead in his tracks. He muttered what sounded like, "Oops. What's wrong, Naruto?" Sakura voiced the same question the other two males thought. Naruto muttered something else into his hands. All three waited for an explanation and got one when a beautiful kunoichi appeared out of nowhere. "Naruto, what's wrong? Why did you call me?" the woman asked in a worried tone. She looked at her surroundings, didn't see anything threatening, and looked puzzled at the young boy. "Hey Maiko-san." Sakura waved simply. "Hello, I heard about you and Naruto being on the same team. I'm guessing you're Sasuke Uchiha then?" Sasuke nodded and she continued, "Wow. Asuma is right, we both have changed." She directed at Kakashi. Kakashi couldn't have agreed more but was too speechless to say so. With no response, she turned back to Naruto and plied his hands away from his face. Gomen Nasai Ne-chan. I was just so happy that I whistled. Nothing is wrong. I'm guessing that means you passed the bell test? The three genin were now speechless as well. Naruto began spluttering about how if she knew this was going to happen then why didn't she warn him? She threw back her head and laughed a good laugh at their expressions. Kakashi loved the sound of her laughter and still couldn't believe that standing in front of him was the same girl he saved 12 years ago. With a closer look he noticed that her facial structure suited her more now and gave off an ethereal beauty instead of little kid cuteness. She grew taller by at least 4 inches and her curves have definitely grown out. The provocative midriff showing off her flat stomach, which made her chest look bigger, did not help her case if she wanted to look anything like she did in the old days. Her hair was shorter than before but still framed her face. Only one thing was the same, her eyes. Her startling green eyes still bore into his own, as if staring into his soul. If this is true, I wonder what she would see and think of me. Does she approve? Have I changed enough? Have I redeemed myself? Were some of the things that flitted through his head. Looking at Sasuke, who looked like the only one who wasn't that familiar with her, seemed to be in deep thought. Like he was trying to place her or judge her. It didn't seem to escape Maiko's notice either. Is there something you would like to ask or say to me? She asked, trying to get Sasuke to spit out what he was thinking and struggling with. Demon whore, he blurted out without thinking. Everyone was shocked, the most obviously being Naruto. He was about to tackle his fellow team member if Maiko didn't hold him back. I see you still remember what your father thought of me, was all she said. Sasuke just nodded but didn't apologize. Apologize to my sister Uteme. Naruto growled and struggled to get out of her grip. He is right, Sasuke. You should apologize for calling her such a horrible thing. Kakashi pointed out and Sakura nodded vigorously, not wanting to upset Sasuke but also agree with the others. Sasuke said one but wasn't really sincere about it, which upset Kakashi and Naruto. But Maiko accepted it without hesitation and changed topics. We should all go out to celebrate. I was thinking along the lines of Ichiraku's My Treat, she said in her melodic voice. Naruto jumped for joy at this, apparently not having any for over a week, and everyone else agreed to it, not wanting it to be a hassle or pass up on the offer. The 5-man group strolled comfortably to the ramen stand and Kakashi listened in on Maiko's conversation with Sakura and Naruto. There was nothing really useful he learned other than Sakura hasn't seen her in a while until she brought up the fact that Maiko was a part of Anbu Black Ops. Actually, I quit right before I met up with you guys. As of this moment I am a regular shinobi at the disposal of the third. So no more masks for me, she explained to the young Kunoichi. What part of Anbu did you work for? Sasuke talked to her for the first time since he apologized earlier ago. Interrogation. Maiko replied simply and continued to walk with Naruto, not realizing that the other 3 stopped dead in their tracks. Oh come on, I'm not doing it now, nor do I plan on using it against any of you guys unless you betray my trust in this village. She replied simply, which was a good enough of an answer for the 3 to follow her, if not a bit more hesitantly. Kakashi doesn't know why he stopped with the 2 genin, but when she said she worked for such an intimidating unit it stopped him dead in his tracks. The interrogation unit, despite not being as secret as the other branches of Anbu, like the assassination squad he once was in, still stroke fear into anyone who has heard a gruesome story of one of their many interrogations. Especially with a legend of Ibiki Morino and his select group of apprentices, one of them being the fearsome Anko Mitarashi. If either 2 got a hold of you, it's better to spill your guts than see what they will use to torture you with. Kakashi might not show this if he ever faced them, but he wasn't stupid to ignore that fact of how they became so infamous either. After catching up to the adoptive brother and sister, the group shortly entered the ramen stand. The meal at Ichiraku's was pleasant enough, with everyone able to recount the bell test. Naruto of course overtly exaggerated about his performance, which all 3 of his team members had to write, much to Maiko's amusement. Kakashi told her about Naruto's comment about his hair and other insults. He said, "Well, I would have to say your hair is pretty unusual," she replied, and made the 3 genin giggle as Kakashi pouted. Whether it was noticeable under his mask he wasn't sure, but Maiko just smirked at him. Same old Maiko, that is for sure. She continued though with, "But Naruto, never underestimate your opponent. I hope you do know that you only succeeded with that eraser trick because he wanted you to feel cocky and doubt his true skills. A very smooth move, I have to admit, Kakashi. He nodded in acceptance at her comment and couldn't help but also see the change in her mentally. Back then she was still as childish and open to anyone who needed help or just wanted to talk. She never thought, or at least demonstrated to him, her intellect and strategy on the battlefield. Then again, he never really took any notice of her unless Obito was around. She has no clue how much during those years after Obito's death Kakashi wanted to talk to her about him and how he felt at the moment. Maybe he still can, but he will wait until he can talk to her alone. May I ask you a question? Sasuke stated as she was paying the bill. Hi, go ahead, Maiko replied with a kind smile. Kakashi almost wished she was smiling at him. Why did my father call you a demon whore? Everyone was silent and flitting back and forth between her and Sasuke. How dare your father call this wonderful woman such a horrible thing? You know what she and her squad as genin did for my family, for this village? The owner began to yell at the genin he earlier ago was so nice too. Tucci-san, it's alright. I'm used to it. He wasn't the only one who called me that, and he certainly wasn't the one who started it either. Your father and I, let's say, didn't agree on a lot of things and felt I was a bad influence to anyone in your family I worked with. That's why he called me that. Does that answer your question? She replied gently and stopped any hostility with ease. Sasuke slightly shook his head in acceptance and spoke no more for fear of the owner becoming angry again. It seemed like the general consensus amongst the group was not to bring it up again. The group disbanded a few minutes later to go to their respective homes. Well, all except for Kakashi. He first walked in the opposite direction following Sasuke to the apartment complexes reserved for ninjas who have no family or are too busy to have an actual house to live in and take care. After some time he went to a separate street, leaving Sasuke to his own thoughts, and redirected himself to the ramen stand. From there he followed Maiko's scent all the way to her house. Kakashi was surprised at how big her home was. Despite being only having one floor, the house took up a lot of space on its lot. Putting his Anbu skills to use once more, he silently entered her home. Good night, Maiko-ne-chan, Naruto exclaimed throughout the comfortably furnished house. Kakashi wouldn't have minded living here himself if he could. Nothing was too fancy or tacky, but lived in. All along the walls there were pictures of Maiko when she was younger to the present moment with Naruto. Most of it was at random, but seeing some pictures of her with her friends made him remember his regrets about Obito and her. Sweet dreams, Oto. She responded and closed the door to his bedroom. Kakashi quickly hid behind the island separating the kitchen from the rest of the open space. He heard her walk towards the living room and stop next to the small dining table. Kakashi, I know you are hiding behind the kitchen island, Maiko whispered to the dark room. Kakashi stood up and stared at the outline of the kunoichi. Carefully she stepped into the kitchen and turned on a small lamp so they could see each other better. Learn something new? Kakashi began. Nope, I knew how to do that before I graduated the academy. The range is what I improved on. Is there something you wish to talk about, or do you normally break into people's houses? She teased as she poured water into a kettle and set it on the stove top to heat. Next she floated over to the other side and grabbed 2 mugs. Just wanted to see if you were okay. What Sasuke said and asked of you was pretty rude and personal. In other words, you really wanted to know why his father called me a demon whore. She responded with a knowing glint in her eyes. Damn, can she really see through me that easily? Kakashi thought but replied, Like I said earlier ago, Fugaku and I didn't agree on a lot of things. She reiterated, but Kakashi was not taking an, I'm not telling you, for an answer. Disagreement is one thing. Calling you something as nasty as demon whore is something different altogether. She just looked at him incredulously. Why else do you think everyone calls me a demon whore? She asked simply and left Kakashi speechless. He had no clue as to why anyone would call someone that, especially a beautiful kunoichi like her. You are either living underneath a rock or just don't listen to gossip much. Even then I thought it would be obvious. She continued. Seeing him not comment either way, she tried giving him another hint. You do know who Naruto is? It then hit Kakashi that Naruto was the demon container. He knew that everyone hated the kid for it, but never knew that when Maiko took him in freely she was ostracized for it as well. Of course when he thought about it further it seemed more logical, but then again when Kakashi was around Maiko, logic wasn't exactly in the forefront of his brain. By the look in her expressive eyes she knew he figured it out. Yes, that is the main reason why Fugaku and I never got along. Well, what he made it to appear for the public to accept his dislike for me. She explained no further or made any notion of enlightening Kakashi on what she meant. He knew that going any further would overstepping the boundary line, so he dropped Fugaku from the subject. Was it hard hearing people call you that? At first it angered me, but over time you get used to it. I know I have it easier compared to Naruto, so I don't complain. It helps that I had my friends for support though. It seems it's the same for Naruto, although his worst fear right now is that they will find out and treat him the same way. She replied evenly enough. This time Kakashi saw through her facade. Really, so if I just randomly called you a demon whore you wouldn't be upset? Ha ha ha. Touché Kakashi. Just don't let any of the people who already do know that, or else I will hear it more often than not. This sent Kakashi reeling at the fact that people still call her such a thing. Come now Kakashi, do you really think after 8 years they would stop? She gawked and showed Kakashi just how perceptive she really was. She added with a chuckle, you really do live underneath a rock. He laughed with her and realized he really does need to get out and socialize a bit more. How have you been these past 12 years Kakashi? I've heard some strange things from Asuma and Guy about you. She turned the tables on him. Asuma he trusted to give her an accurate account of him, but Guy, he shuddered to think about what that maniac told her. I don't know what you mean. You need to be a little more specific. Well, I hear that you arrive late to everything and that your excuses can be quite elaborate and ridiculous. It reminds of someone else from long ago. She responded kindly. Maiko's green eyes captured his and held him there. They stood quietly looking at each other, sharing their mutual grief of losing such a close friend and still feeling that lost even though it happened so long ago. Obito's habits have been passed on to me, yes. I feel as if it's one way of remembering him and honoring his spirit. Why is it I never see you at the memorial or his grave? I used to go all the time but hid in the shadows because I did not want to weep so openly in front of everyone. Ayame-sensei helped me through it so I can go to his grave once a year without breaking down. I go the day of the funeral. For me that is when Obito truly died, not in battle when he was with you and Rin. Tears welled up in her eyes but did not shed them. Clearly she still won't cry in front of anyone. Even if that person feels the same way and wouldn't think worse of her for it. I'm sorry Kakashi for bringing it up. I can see that you care for Obito deeply like me. She said knowingly. Kakashi held back the burning sensation of tears forming in his own eyes. It seems he too would not give in to the sadness when in others' presence. I understand and I don't take any offense from it. He responded and meant it from the bottom of his heart. Again the two ninjas stood in the kitchen in silence staring at each other. It was broken when the kettle whistled and Maiko quickly took it off the flame. Kakashi was about to turn and leave when Maiko stopped him. Naruto won't wake up or come to investigate. He will feign sleeping and wait for the enemy to come to him. If I come and tell him everything is all right then he goes back to sleep. Maiko whispered once more and motioned for Kakashi to remain silent as she poured them tea. Afterwards she went to go check up on Naruto. It was hard to get him to go back to sleep but at least he isn't as gullible anymore. She replied after returning from the dark hallway within 10 minutes. Isn't that dangerous? What if someone transformed themselves to look like you? Kakashi spoke in a hushed but serious tone. I gave him the safe word before I explained. She answered simply and Kakashi felt an unexpected weight lift off his shoulders. He should have known that with having Naruto live under her roof they would have put safety measures up just in case someone broke in and tried to harm them. If he recalled correctly, something along that line happened years ago. So do you talk to Asuma often? Kakashi asked, trying to start up another conversation. Yeah, he is practically like a brother to me. We hit a little snag when he joined the 12 Guardian Ninja, but we worked it out and everything else has been good thus far. She replied with a small smile that made him ask, what? I was thinking how funny it is that we have the same friends and acquaintances, worked for Anbu at one time or another, our senseis were siblings, we live and protect the same village, we are the same rank, and yet it took us this long to actually sit down and have a sensible conversation. As she said this Kakashi couldn't help but agree and laugh along with her. Well, here's to a talk that took 12 years in the making. May this atrocity never happen again. He toasted to her. Hear, hear. She joined in and both smiled, a ghost of a smile they once had 12 years ago, at least. That's all for my now. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments.